Howdy, hey, hello, it's McKenna, and this is Munch and Mingle. Welcome back. Here we are, another episode and a new week. It is going by so fast this year. I told you guys we were at the hospital with my sister. She is home. She is recovering. Thank you for any prayers, good thoughts sent her way. But I saw the gift shop a couple times. Y'all, they already have Halloween set up. It is not even the middle of July, and we are setting up Halloween. I already get mad about that because my birthday's at the end of August, and I would always get mad, like, no, my birthday's in summer. Don't set up fall or anything Halloween related until like September 1st. But now we're just pulling it out right after 4th of July. A little shocking, but it just also goes to prove, like, holy cow, we are on like the downhill of this year. I don't know how anyone else's 2026 is going. Ours is all over the place. So good and bad. I hope everyone is having an okay, more steadier 2026. But if not, it's all right. We're all here together. Also, if you are in, honestly, any of the West Coast, it has been a heat wave this weekend. I think here in Utah, we hit a new record of what Britt was telling me. We had 109 in Salt Lake. Like, we were hotter here up northern Utah than southern Utah, like St. George, where it gets really hot all the time. It's wild. It's wild. But yeah, I've been feeling it. Begin all the pregnancy symptoms, swelling up like a balloon. All I want is like cold, crisp food. So like salads and fruits. Those are my go-to right now. I'm loving that. And all I do is wear dresses. I wore one of my little moo dresses that I found from DI today, and it was great. Love it. Speaking of pregnancy, as we are going through these talks, I know I told you I want to kind of get through these quickly. I'm getting nervous, y'all. I'm feeling like the body is moving things along faster. And so I'm trying to really like calm down, take it slow, which is hilarious as I'm trying to go through this conference so much faster, but more physical work. I'm trying to slow that down and kind of calm myself down because something's happening and I'm getting nervous. I broke down to Britain last night and just feeling like the clock is ticking and I don't have enough time. She could be here tomorrow. She could be here truly any day. And I thought I at least had till 39 weeks. And I can't remember if we said this in my last episode or the one before, but I am already dilating. The body is moving fast. And my doctor said, yeah, I don't even think you're going to make it to 39 weeks before you have this baby. So it's just all of that. And I'm getting, just stressed. And so I was just like, okay, I'm feeling it all. And it just kind of came crashing down a little bit. And I had to kind of just sit here and be like, okay, what are the priorities right now? And kind of had to make a list. I still don't have my hospital bag packed, which is a big no-no for me, especially since everything happened with Belle at 27 weeks. I obviously didn't have packed then. So when we got pregnant with Briggs, I at 28 weeks, I had my bag packed. We were ready to go. So now hitting 33 weeks today and it not being packed, it's sitting there like, you gotta go do it. You gotta go do it. But I don't know why I'm struggling. No, I do. I am nesting so hardcore right now, meaning I am just wanting to clean and organize this entire house. And I keep leaving our room on the back burner. So our room is like becoming the staging room where I just throw things in from all the other rooms as I'm trying to clean and organize. And it's becoming super overwhelming, filled with clutter. And so when I'm thinking I need to go do my hospital bag, I'm kind of faced with everything that's in the room. And so I just shut it down. Like, no, we'll just do it later because I know I have to do that. And bless my sweet husband. I was crying about this all to him last night. And even he was like, McKenna, you need to let me help you. And he knows, and I know when he says that, it means I have to let go of control, in the sense of anyone can clean and organize. And I know every woman feels this way. Anyone can clean and organize, but are they going to do it the exact way you want? And that's the hard part, because I'm like, I know the systems I've created in here. I've done it for everyone. And to let go of it, it's like really hard because I'm like, everything has a home. Do you know where those homes are? Do you know how I like to fold these clothes that go in the drawer? And then do you also know how I like to color coordinate everything that's hanging in the closet, and so on and so on. And after talking with him last night, I realized, like, if the clothes are put away, that's all that matters. We can change. I can put it back into the systems after she's here, after I've recovered, we've given it some time. If I have clean clothes and I know where to find them, that's all that should matter. So I'm sorry, Britt, but he's great. And he just helped work me through that. But yeah, all that to say, I'm feeling it. And so I'm nervous of what happens if she comes before I finish this. And I have to then understand, like, okay, no, I probably won't be able to finish this conference, which we didn't get to finish the last one either. And that's okay. Because again, the priorities here, get that hospital bag packed, and then get my emergency plan, everything ready. If my water does in fact break early, who's watching the boys? How am I getting to the hospital? What do I do if Britain's in Salt Lake? Yada, yada, yada. Like, these are the big time things. And I have sadly just been pushing them to the side. So I do have trying to get through this series as one of my priorities. But I just want you to know, if it ends, please know it's not going lightly. If I can't finish it, I mean. So with all that saying, we're going to move into the talk. And I was just skimming a lot of the bios this morning, and I'm nervous because I'm like, well, should I go deeper into these talks? But I want you to know, I think this is the Spirit saying, what is the main meat that I can take out of it for this week to help me and my family? And hopefully either it can help you, but the most thing I want it to do is to lead you to go read these talks for yourself, because there's a good chance you're going to pull something else out of it than I would. If it just gets you there to go read through the talk and let the Spirit talk to you, then job done. Job well done. That is the main end goal, because it's all going to speak to us differently. But if we can all be lifted together, that's huge. That's great. That's exactly where we should be. So I gotta slow down. Anyway, we're good. It's great. It's great. So let's go into our bios. Today's talk, we've got a powerhouse duo. We are starting our Sunday morning session, and we are starting with Elder Uchtdorf and Sister Freeman, or President Freeman, right? How do we say it? Yeah, President Freeman. There we go. And then, also President Uchtdorf. Oh, because at the time of this talk, he was the acting president of the Quorum of the 12. Totally. Wait, he still is. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm pretty sure he's the senior apostle still right now. Yeah. Anyway, so we've got those two, and it's an incredible talk. And I don't know if this is the right, what's the word? Road to go down. But there was something very poignant that stood out to me about these two talks. And remember how I said last week, some of these talks, I'm like, are they given a theme? If you're going to be in the Saturday afternoon session, here's your theme. If you're going to be in the Sunday morning session, here's your theme. Which that one's kind of obvious, because at the time of this conference, it was Easter morning, Sunday. So I'm like, okay, that's a given. But sometimes these talks, I'm like, this is too good to be true, how well these line up. So I don't know. But as I was going through both of these, I was like, this one thing was standing out to me so strong that I was like, we're going to take that route. But before we do, let's get into the bios. And I can't remember if we've already done a bio on Elder Uchtdorf, but just a quick reminder as I was going through, looking for my love stories, because that's what I love about these bios. President Uchtdorf, it says actually both President and Sister Uchtdorf really have love and enthusiasm about the missionary programs, because that's basically what brought both of them and their families into the church. Now, Elder Uchtdorf is, in this bio that we're going through, is very quick to point out that his family joined the church through the efforts of a member missionary, while Sister Uchtdorf's family found the truth through full-time missionaries. What was happening, I'm pretty sure it was, where did we go? Yeah, he's talked about this in another session, but it was an elderly woman inviting his grandmother to church in East Germany. And it was through that invitation that his family joined the church, and he was baptized 2 years after the rest of his family, because it was then when he turned 8. So that would have made him 6 when his family joined. And then by the time he was a deacon, his family moved to Frankfurt and were attending a branch there. And at this time, Sister Uchtdorf was, I don't know if she was already attending or was about to start coming. Her family was currently mourning the death of her father, who had passed away from cancer. And 8 months after he died, the missionaries knocked on her door, or her family's door, and they taught them about the plan of salvation. And it says that Sister Uchtdorf said, "It was something I hadn't heard before, but it was familiar to me." And for her mom, who's still grieving over the death of her husband, it was a revelation, which is really cool. So then they started attending church. Again, I don't know if this was right as Elder Uchtdorf moved in or whatnot, but he says, let's see. It says it is very likely he was there because his family was active. What? Anyway, she was baptized at age 12. And he must have gone there. He must have been going there because he noticed the new convert in all the meetings, because he was like, she was very attractive. And they learned to dance together at church during their teen years. But sadly, Sister Uchtdorf did not feel the same affection that Elder Uchtdorf had for her at the moment. And he just said, well, just everybody loved Harriet, but he obviously loved her a little bit more. Now, when Elder Uchtdorf was an older teenager, it says he would have been drafted into the military anyway. So he just went forward and joined the German Air Force to fulfill his dream of being a pilot. But Germany didn't have a training program for fighter pilots. So he earned his wings in both German and U.S. Air Forces in Texas and Arizona, which wild. And then afterwards, he returned to Germany. I don't know how long he was gone. It doesn't say. But then he found Harriet, or Sister Uchtdorf. She was still single. And at this time, he was able to win her heart. He says, I endured to the end. But they were then married in the Swiss temple, now the Bern, Switzerland temple, in 1962. And that was kind of all we got. It was a shorter, I guess, bio. He was working with President Thomas S. Monson. Oh, President Thomas S. Monson extended the call to him to serve in the first quorum of the 70, which is funny because then when we go to our next bio, President Monson is also in this one. So this is for President Freeman, which claim to fame. When I was a counselor at Retreat for Girls, you guys have heard about that program. I've had past counselors and friends on here from that. Sister Freeman was one of the speakers, oh my goodness, from the beginning, since I started doing that. So my first year was it was right before my mission. So when I was 18, yeah. She would come during that week. We would be there at Utah State. And so I got really used to hearing her speak. And here's the coolest part. A lot of you hopefully know this, like before Sister Freeman was called in to the General Auxiliary for Young Women, she was doing a podcast with David Butler. The podcast is still running, but instead of Sister Freeman, it's her daughter, Grace, doing it with David Butler. Before that podcast happened, before it even came to fruition, both Sister Freeman and David Butler were speaking at this retreat for girls. They would speak every week. And they were friends before or whatnot, like families intermingled. And like some of the best speakers, the girls, counselors, everyone loved when these two would get to speak. Well, my last year as a counselor, which would have been, oh my goodness, post-mission, maybe 2 years, they hadn't come out with Come Follow Me yet. I can't remember, or were about to. But I remember Sister Freeman and David Butler brought it to our camp director's attention, like, hey, would you mind if we pilot this program or pilot this type of teaching method when we're at Retreat for Girls? And Katie, the director, was like, sure, go ahead. So my claim to fame is I was like a part of the pilot program. We were in one of those classes that these two were teaching together. And back in the day, like if you go way back to the Don't Miss This podcast of how they used to set it up, the papers and everything, like we were handed out those papers. They did the lesson or like talking through the scriptures. And those two are just incredible scriptoriums. Sister Freeman is actually one of the most, she's an incredible person, but she is so influential of her love for the scriptures that touched me so much that I was like, I want to be like her. Like, I want to know these scriptures like Emily Belle Freeman. And so it was really cool to just kind of be a part of that. And then to see them go do Don't Miss This, go through all that, and then go to where it is now. So super cool. Sorry, that was just my little tidbit, but her bio is so cool. So she was born in Boston. She's the oldest of 6 kids and ended up being raised in Sandy here in Utah. But then the family moved to California when her parents were given, it says a mission leadership assignment, when her parents became mission leaders or mission presidents. And the youngest of her siblings was in kindergarten at the time, which, wow, bless those parents. But President Thomas S. Monson was the second counselor in the first presidency and set her dad apart as mission president. In that same meeting afterwards, President Monson stopped Sister Freeman. Oh, it says she was 17 years old at this time. Excuse me, her name was Sister Oswald at this point, and told her, quote, when you choose which missionary you are going to marry, make sure you choose the very best one. Which my first thought is, did he know like her husband was in the mission that her parents are going to be over and like was okaying it? Or was he just saying it in general, like make sure you're marrying a missionary? I don't know. Part of me pretty much believes though that he knew who he was standing before, the future young women's president, one day in our church. So again, great counsel, whatever, which way, but I just think that's so great. So then we go over to Brother Freeman. He was one of the missionaries in the mission. He was raised in Bountiful. Remember that'll come up. And it was actually, he was in a family who was not really actively attending church, but then they had a neighbor who was ministering to them faithfully over the years. Even when this neighbor became busier as the bishop and then stake president, he still ministered to Brother Freeman's family. And he also had a really good group of friends, it says, who invited him to attend seminary. And then when they were all going on their missions, it says one of his friend's mothers talked to him about preparing for a mission too. And through that, the Freemans started attending church again. And Brother Freeman went on to be sealed to his parents and 2 sisters in the temple before he left for a full-time mission, which is awesome. Now, this is the part that I'm just like, this is awesome. So Brother Freeman says he remembers on his mission always seeing all the Oswald children at every mission conference. They would sing, play music, or speak at the zone conferences and state conferences as well. When Emily, Sister Freeman, graduated high school, though, she began accepting speaking engagements in Utah, which I was like, way to go. She was already out here doing what she does best. Then I'm like, you had speaking engagements in Utah? Doing what? Speaking about what? Like right out of high school? That would be something I want to ask her. But so she's in Utah. Brother Freeman then returns home to Utah because that's where he's from. And the Oswalds, or President Oswald and his wife, got a hold of Brother Freeman and said, hey, can you go to this fireside where Emily's at? She's going to be speaking. Could you just record some of it and send it to us? So of course he goes, yeah, this is my mission president. I'll go help him out. And it says shortly after that night, Greg and Emily began dating. And they were married December 19th, 1989. Don't know if that's the same year or whatnot, in the LA, California temple, which makes me think, oh, they went back there because her parents were still there. But guess who sealed them? President Monson. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Anyway, one last cool tidbit. I just love Sister Freeman. If you can't tell, their wedding reception was held in the Lion House, at Temple Square. And it's cool because it includes this part like, hey, that's the same place that in 1870, Brigham Young gathered his family to talk about a new program for the young women. So I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Okay. All right. We are moving on. Sorry. I said I was going to go through the bios fast, and look at me. We're like 20 minutes in. Okay. So let's go straight into the talks. And I'm going to start a little bit on Sister Freeman's talk, then move over to Elder Uchtdorf's, and then go back to Sister Freeman's. I kind of just put this all together. I'm wanting to get this done before. I'm always recording these at night, and my new rule is like I cannot be doing too many more episodes. So we're going to go through this quickly so that I can go get ready for bed. Now, the talks are called by Elder Uchtdorf. His is called Encounter at the Empty Tomb. And by President Freeman, hers is called Best Days and Worst Days. So at the beginning of her talk, she says, isn't it amazing how you can go from best day to worst day in a matter of minutes? This is mortality, a proving ground, a place designed for growth. I have learned that God allows mortality to do its work in us, and that includes both best days and worst days. Now, this is kind of where my mind got going. You're going to hear in Elder Uchtdorf's talk, he speaks about a specific person around Jesus's time. And in Sister Freeman's talk, she also speaks about another person around Jesus's time. And what I noticed as both of them brought up these two individuals, it's almost like you could liken yourself. We all could liken ourselves to each of them at different times in our life. And that's the part that kept like cueing to me. It was like, we need to really focus on this and talk about how we too can go through these moments just like these two did. And to almost like make it remember that these are real people too. Just because they were around Jesus doesn't mean they're any more different than us. I think any of us in their shoes would have done these things. But what I realized, I think too many times we get stuck on making sure we're not like, well, I don't want to be as bad as that person. Like, because that really would show that my faith was dwindling. And it's like, wait, no, I didn't get that all. And the way that they describe it did a really good job at being like, wait a minute, we're all going to be in this time of life. Basically, we're all going to have trials of faith that are way more deeper and darker than just surface level. And understanding we too can be human, but it's what we do in that dark time that is going to build our testimony and our relationship with Jesus Christ. And we've been talking so much about that this last week in these last two episodes about remembering Jesus is never going to leave us. It's us who turns away. So with that, let's go into Elder Uchtdorf's talk. And I'm trying to like not breathe in the microphone. So I'm really sorry if you hear it. Because again, I'm pretty sure she's dropped, but it feels like my lungs are still compressed. So Elder Uchtdorf is going to be speaking about Mary Magdalene. And he does so well. So he starts out with talking about when Mary and a small group of women are heading over to the tomb. This is after Jesus Christ's crucifixion. And he's trying to imagine the depth of their grief, their heartache, their helplessness. And he's like, I can't even, how could you even get there? But he's like, perhaps maybe I could gather that the question they all were asking is, how could this happen? Which I don't know if y'all watch The Chosen, definitely should. This helps me so much with, again, getting to see these disciples who were following Jesus Christ and learning all this on the go, to really realize that they were human too. They learned just like we do through the hard times and the good times. So he says, this is a question probably after they're thinking like, how could this happen? How could the man who had cast out demons, healed the cripple, cured the sick, walked on water, conversed with angels, taught the blessed hope and infinite glory of the gospel, fed multitudes, and raised the dead, how could he have died? Again, I believe every single one of us in this moment on that Saturday in between Good Friday and Easter Sunday would be thinking the same thing too. You're worried like, wait, was this all a show? Were those just like happenstances? Were they miracles? I imagine we would all be thinking like, have I been duped? But wait, no, like I've had those feelings of confirmation of the Spirit that this was true, that this is his gospel. Yet why is he not standing here right now? And then he goes on to say, even despite all of that, Mary and her companions made their way to the tomb. They didn't come expecting a miracle. They didn't come anticipating their questions would be answered. They certainly didn't come because they had a complete understanding of what was happening. They came because of their immeasurable love and reverence for Jesus Christ. This is human one that I think we can all get into is think of some of your darkest moments of trial or confusion, just with life, whatever it may be, things regarding changes in the church or just hard times in your family, things that can just make you stop and be like, wait a minute, what? And yet you're still moving forward. This is like best case scenario, I truly believe, is when even despite all of those uncertainties, those trials, that you can still be like, you know what? I don't know. And it's still okay. I still have these questions in my brain, but I'm going to still keep moving forward because of my love for Christ at the end of the day. I just think it's so great how Elder Uchtdorf is pointing this out, that this is normal, that you can still go forward even when the world is dark because you know that the light can still shine in the dark. And that light comes from Jesus Christ and his gospel. And that is, I think that's where we all need to try to be like, that's where we all hope to be. We hope to be like Mary and still, and it's that great thing of just accepting, yes, this is human, this is mortality thinking, but I'm still going to move forward. And then he even gives us the reminder, like, just remember, Jesus Christ, we know this now, conquers death. So surely he is going to be able to conquer any danger, confusion, or doubt we face today. Great little thing that we are reminded of. Now, he then goes on to talk about, obviously, everything that comes after when Mary gets to the tomb and realizes it's empty. And it says, it began on that Easter morning when these few women became the world's first witnesses of that single greatest event in the history of this world. We must all do the same. We must encounter the empty tomb, experience the reality of what it means, and in turn share the witness with others. It's huge. And that was one of the things that stuck out to me. I was like, we still have to go through that trial of faith, which is walking to the empty tomb. We might not know it's empty at this point. We might not know the miracle that's on the other side of this hill, but we still take the walk and we walk over that hill and then we get to witness the miracle. And true, there might be another obstacle on the hill. We might hit another deep patch on our way, but we still walk. And then we see the miracle and we get to share that witness or that testimony with others. And it can sometimes be so much more powerful because of that hard time, because of your journey still to go forward, to get over that hill, that is going to bring that testimony even further. Yes, for other people, but especially for yourself. And I think that's the pattern Elder Uchtdorf is trying to remind us of, like, this is going to keep happening. But every time it does, your testimony is going to get deeper and deeper convicted and rooted, because we know hard times are still going to come. And there was one great line I wanted to end with on his. Oh yeah. Some might hesitate to commit fully because of unresolved questions relating to life circumstances, the gospel, or the church. But like Mary and those with her that morning, even when things seem dark, we step forward in faith with courage and humility, and we walk toward the Savior's light. As we desire to encounter Christ, we must eventually make our way to the empty tomb. This is the trial of faith. It's making our way to that destination. And then the testimony comes when we get to the empty tomb. And that's then where we get to sit back and we get the hindsight, and we now see, like, oh my gosh, he's always been there. It wasn't, we had to get to him. He's been there with us. It was just the miracle on the other side, or the reminder, like, oh wait, yeah, here he is. And then he gives us the invitation. Shall we not therefore become witnesses of Jesus Christ? Shall we not share our love with him for others? For him with others. There we go. So great. Now we're going to move into Sister Freeman's talk now. Because now you have that painting, that portrait of Mary, and it's like, yes, okay, we can do that. Like, to sit here and say, like, just keep walking over that hill. Just keep getting through that hard time. It's very much easier said than done. And so I'm very grateful that then the next talk Sister Freeman goes into is about none other than Peter. And I'm interested to think of the first thoughts that go through your head when you hear Peter. Because I know there are some thoughts, especially before reading this talk, that it was like, oh yeah, it was that apostle who couldn't stick with it right at the end, who turned away so fast, you know? But it's interesting the way that she goes through this. So first, she starts building up the stories. It's the story of Peter. And she even did the same thing that President Uchtdorf did, that when she's building up who Christ was and what these disciples and apostles had seen, they had seen empty nets filled. Sorry, specifically in Peter's eyes. He had seen empty nets filled, storms at sea calmed, loaves multiplied, and the dead raised. So when Jesus was asking his disciples, whom say ye that I am? And Peter responded, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus responded, blessed art thou, Simon, flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. So he's one of the first apostles to like declare who Jesus Christ is, to see that for all that he is, to look with spiritual eyes. That's huge. That's a huge thing for him to be like so confident. And that's why Jesus is like, yes. Now it's interesting because in Sister Freeman's talk, her whole thing is like best days, worst days, and how those can change in a matter of moments. Well, in that moment, that day, it definitely felt like a best day for Peter, for sure. But then as we're reading on in the scripture, she says only 3 verses later, a shift occurs. Whether or not it was three days or actually like 3 hours, we don't know. It had to probably be longer than 3 hours. But Jesus starts to speak of his coming death. And Peter rebukes the Savior, saying, no, this shall not be. And that's then when Savior's immediate response was, get thee behind me, Satan. And Sister Freeman goes on to be like, I believe Peter had good intentions. He just didn't want the Savior to die. I thought about this, and this could totally be McKenna's own version of this. So don't take it as gospel doctrine. But I don't get the feeling that, and maybe he was a little, but I don't believe in this moment he was calling Peter Satan. Just my thought. I believe he could see Satan kind of trying to distract Peter and almost like, no, here's the logical stuff. No. Like, it's weird. I don't know. But I think it's like that was just the way I was looking at it. So maybe in this case, the Savior saw that and was actually telling like Satan, get away, stop it. Like, stop. I'm trying to speak these spiritual truths and you're sending this logic in. Or it's just, again, Peter being human too, thinking with the natural man. And so again, he can still be referring to Satan being over that and trying to be like, yeah, logic, this doesn't make sense, and distracting him, which is a great reminder for us because I think we all do this and fall in this way of logic. No, logically, this doesn't make sense, when it's like, wait, we need to listen and see with spiritual eyes in this moment, because I believe, Christ was trying to tell him why this is necessary and in spiritual terms. And he just wasn't having it, as he just did 3 verses ago, we saw. So I think that's at least how I'm reading it, in this way. Now, she says in here that our understanding of eternal truth is not forged in a single moment. Testimony is built over time, day after day, both best days and worst. And that's kind of what we've been saying in this whole episode, that I'm like, yes, like sometimes you're going to just have those great spiritual moments. And it's like, I am good. Second coming, come now, because I'm here. I'm hearing it. I'm seeing it. I've got the spiritual eyes, glasses on, earbuds in, like we are there. And then one thing happens. You trip, you stumble. It's not even something that might be that big. And yet it can totally like knock off the spiritual glasses, earbuds, whatever. And that's then this choice of, okay, like we talked about, can you be like Mary and still have the discipline to carry forward? Or are you going to have a moment to sit in it? And that's truly what I think is happening here with Peter. And what we know is about to come is he was showing that there's still going to be moments that I'm going to have to wait before I walk forward. I need to sit here in this moment and remembering from all that we've learned, that's okay. Because guess what? We know Christ is sitting right next to him. He's not leaving. He's not leaving us while we have to sit and take a moment, because we're still human. And she goes on to share the story about when, is it right after? Yes, it's when Peter is walking on water. And then obviously we know he sees the wind. So when he's walking on water, best day. But when he sees the wind and starts to sink, like worst day, in a matter of moments. And she asks the question, have you ever accepted an invitation from the Lord and then felt unequal to the task? We all know what it is to doubt, to experience sinking moments, but notice where Jesus was when Peter accepted the invitation that seemed too big. He wasn't shouting instructions from the shore or offering advice from the safety of the boat. He was in the water with Peter, within reaching distance. As you accept the Lord's invitations on both your best days and your worst, the same will be true for you. And that's just so great to hear that and to remember, like, even Peter, who we still know is about to go on and still deny the Christ, he still is there with him. Now, when we move forward to that, where did it go? Especially on our worst days. Yes. Sometimes we may wonder if the Lord's promises will truly be fulfilled in us, especially when all seems lost. When we're sitting there, we're taking that moment like, I don't know if I can move forward. Especially on those worst days, Peter's story reminds us that we will. That we can move forward and the Lord's promises will still be fulfilled in us. And this part I love. I think I already kind of alluded to it earlier, but she says this, and maybe it took both the worst days and the best days for Peter to become who the Lord needed him to become. There are going to be some days that I believe we are going to be like Mary. And it's just like, regardless of all this, I have the strength and the capacity to move forward because I have seen so much. I know so much. I love the Savior. And I also believe that there are going to be days and moments where we're going to be Peter. And it's after seeing everything, we're still going to have a moment where we're human, and it's not going to feel as easy to move forward. It's not going to feel as easy to trust in those moments. And, at least I don't know. There was a part in here when she talks about when Peter, oh, here it goes. When Peter denied knowing him 3 times and the rooster crowed, Luke writes, the Lord turned and looked upon Peter. And she says, I often think about that look. Jesus knew the worst wasn't over yet. He knew still was what was about to come, especially that night. But when Peter saw that look, Luke tells us he remembered the warning from Jesus. And she says, I can't help but wonder if Jesus was remembering the encouraging words he had spoken to Peter earlier that day. I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not, and when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. So perhaps that look was not Christ looking at Peter with a look of failure, but instead a look of ennobling strength meant to carry Peter through the worst moments ahead. And I truly believe that with us in everything. Christ is with us. He is standing right there, like she said, in the water with us when we're sinking. He is within reaching distance. It is then our choice, this mortality that we are put in, of are we going to let ourselves sink, or are we going to reach out? Are we going to reach out for Christ? Are we going to walk towards the tomb that we still think has our crucified Lord in it? Knowing like, I'm not going to know every reason why this happened, but I'm still going to trust that it will be made known to me someday, that I will understand later. But until that moment, I have my testimony and I'm holding on to that Jesus is the Christ. And everything that I have felt up to this point, up to this dark moment, up to this trial of faith, I'm not going to throw it away in that moment. And again, stopping, maybe even turning away for a step or two away. I don't think the Lord is going to look at you and be like, well, you're a lost cause. You have to remember he's still with you and he's fighting for you to turn back around. I think he also understands we're human, and he understands that, again, this phase that we're in, this place that we're in, we have to learn through those worst moments. And I can speak, just as I know many of you out there can, those are the moments that made the good moments the best moments. Because we saw the dark, we knew the light. We knew when we were striking gold because we had those low moments. The biggest thing I got from reading both these talks is just a reminder of not holding myself up to a standard where I can't ever fail or where I can't have a trial of faith. Because I do believe, and we've talked about this, we know our life is made up of good and bad moments, and there's still a lot of life for us to live. And there's a lot going on in the world around us that prove it's going to keep coming. But just as I stand here today, and I know you do too, we know Christ has gotten us this far. He's not going to stop. He can get us through the hardest of times. We have been shown that. What these disciples didn't see at the moment, we see. We have the hindsight, so we have the blessing and understanding of he can do anything. And they go on to see that too. And because of that, these two are deeply converted for the rest of their lives. We know that. So that was the main thought that I got. And I just love these two. Elder Uchtdorf, Sister Freeman, incredible. incredible speakers, and they did such a great job with tying this in. And I hope, if anything, you were able to pull something out of this talk or this episode, but I strongly encourage you need to go through both of these talks today or definitely just through the week, because it really has changed my view on how I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself and not giving enough credit to the things that have been hard in my life to help me get closer to Christ. And it's because of those things that I've stayed so much closer to Christ, and I'm grateful. I truly am. We always can say when we're out of the trial how grateful we are for it, right? So anyway, all right. I hope you have a great week. We'll be back here soon with our next 2 talks. But until then, just know you are loved, be safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.